It's so cold. It's so cold. Oh man, let's check on the YouTube channel. I think it'll be good.
Oh, damn. Sir, we have a new fan mail for you here.
Oh yeah, you can put it on the table here. I'll open it now. Hey, boring. Oh my god.
Okay, Harry, could you please come back to Star Citizen? We miss you so much. Love, Chris Roberts.
Oh, Chris Roberts. I will.
Hello, dear viewer. And before you ask, no, I haven't started doing that sort of content just yet. Isn't that right, boys? Yes. I've instead found another excellent reason to incessantly yap at you yet again. Hey, wait, there's still so much left. This is a different kind of video than what I've done previously.
Because it's positive?
No, it is because I was interested in attempting something entirely new. Namely, why I am here.
Why are you gay?
What?
And why do I care so much about a game that hasn't been released for over 12 years? Or as some, such as myself, sometimes says, 15. And that is why, dear viewer, today I'm here to ask Chris Roberts to be my Valentine.
So the question is, what is that?
Why doesn't he respond to any of my letters? Well, if that bastard is not going to respond to me, then simply Star Citizen is going to have to do. And that is why today I'm going to talk about all those lovely games, or most of them, that made me truly love and appreciate Star Citizen. Choice. Choice is something that makes or breaks games, giving us the ability to choose the alternative we find most appealing, choosingly so.
Why do I have to make a choice? Maybe the three of us could,
We'll be happy together.
And speaking of choice, it does not even have to be in terms of story, but simply in the variety of stuff and things which we can do in the games we play. And I'm now going to out myself and say that the first game I actually have a memory of playing way back in the early 2000s was Operation Flashpoint: Cold War Crisis. Yes, I've experienced that lovable Slav jank all my life. So in spite of me never having been much into the sim world, due to my dad's old friend, I got to play some milsim at an early age, which did irreparable damage to my brain parts. The vast open fields, forests and hills, the vehicles and the weapons, all were at your disposal with free range as to how you decide to tackle any particular mission or problem with the resources available to you. And this is one of those critical aspects of Star Citizen that is available to us. We get to choose how we play and how we attack or defend. We can plan out an operation as effectively or as ineffectively as we wish, because sometimes Star Citizen can indeed be a sandbox. And I do see some of the freedom that both Armor and Operation Flashpoint offers, trying desperately to claw its way to the surface. One day, boys, one day. But what better thing to attack is there than a base? Someone else's base. Yes, dearest viewer, back in the olden days, I did find myself as one of those particular individuals playing Minecraft. But not just any Minecraft, a Minecraft developed specifically for psychopaths. I used to play with a semi-large group of people where we at a time operated like clockwork, on a weekly wiping server where we built the same base over and over and over again.
And yes, dear viewer, I didn't have a girlfriend at the time. Who'd have thunk? It truly was the most of years.
And there is now the shadow of a thought, a tingling sensation within my loins,
and the back of my neck,
that whispers ever so gently that we may see some Rust aspects within Star Citizen. This is naturally what I believe will be a consequence for base building. Be they big or small groups, the conflagrations that will occur due to proximity or the need for resources. It is truly something that I wish to see them nail down perfectly or properly. Building a base, a place to call home, to store all your shit in, to cherish and enjoy is a critical aspect that will define Star Citizen. Rust or Minecraft without the autistic base building would have left the games wanting, and therefore I believe it to be critical to the future of our beloved MMO. One of the fundamental things of Star Citizen that has drawn me and will most likely continue to draw me and keep me hooked is the ability to exercise my free will and choose. Yes, dear viewer, I exercise my ability to reason by giving boatloads of cash to strange Anglo-American fellows with a funny voice. What do you do with yours?
So, fishing is not on Star Citizen 1.0's list, but I'm pretty sure... I know, but I'm pretty sure it will be not that long after 1.0.
Not to say that a lack of choice is necessarily a bad thing. Sometimes having a limited amount of options is just as good as having a smorgasbord of alternatives. Like some of you probably know, having too many options can lead to paralysis. But I believe that Star Citizen can thread that needle and allow a variety of options without overwhelming the player base. One can dream, but one place we are also allowed to choose in are stories. Star Citizen does not currently have much of a story, but I will utilize its sister game instead, Squadron 42, as somewhat of a surrogate to aid in discussing the story, due to the commonality in between both games and how they will likely affect each other somewhat. And I believe it is rather fair to suggest that I've gone on at length about the story of Squadron 42, both in real life and the lore of the game itself. But this is an intriguing issue where I find it very fair to say that at this moment in time, Star Citizen by itself does not yet have a story, at least not one that we can actively interact with in the game. It may have some quest lines with a story, some person barking orders at you, but these are too few and far between to actually qualify as a living universe. I find strong similarities in the storytelling style of Squadron 42 with that of Half-Life 2, one of my favorite games of all time, baby. But it is in a particular way we get to hear about in the Squadron 42 vertical slice in 2017.
And you could see that. You could just say, oh, I don't want to, this thing's happening over here, I'm not interested in that, and turn around and do that. And I actually did it on a couple of playthroughs just for the fun of it.
No clue I do have if this is indeed the case today, but I personally, in my experience, have never encountered a game which allows you to pick and choose how you wish to perceive the game. You can either do it through these cutscenes, or perhaps by going down into the hangar and directly witnessing the cutscene through the eyes of your own character, allowing a version of the Half-Life philosophy of never leaving the player's eyes, but also allowing you, the player, to choose if you want a more cinematic, Halo-like experience over perhaps that of a more immersive experience. My God, imagine allowing the consumer to choose. Star Citizen and Squadron in these aspects clearly draw from Halo, Star Wars, Mass Effect, and insert whatever game you just thought of here. Or more fairly, so far only Squadron draws more on similar story beats and displays, whereas Star Citizen draws more on aesthetics, which I will discuss later. But this is indeed a critical factor I hope we see drawn in further from Squadron into Star Citizen to help further develop the story of Star Citizen. Not within materials outside of the game, but inside of it. The storytelling of Star Citizen is, like I said, lacking. But I am deluded enough to think that the story of Squadron will at least be serviceable and good, perhaps even above average, or unlikely, but hopefully fantastic. And hopefully, Squadron 42 is an amazing pool and a resource for Star Citizen to draw from in terms of story beats and lore. As the game is, and probably will continue to be, I do not think there's going to be any cutscenes in the wild of the game, so to speak, other than perhaps that of larger system-spanning or galaxy-spanning events, or maybe even the main story that they're developing. The story in my mind will be experienced through you and your character's eyes, directly, like we see in Half-Life 2 and Halo. In Fallout New Vegas, you, the High Roller, the player, get to choose how you interact with the world around you, and it does react to that stimuli. Where did the player touch you? The faction's opinions ebb and flow according to the actions you take against them, and will act accordingly, fighting fire with fire, or love with love.
Please assume the position.
It was something promised for Pyro, but it's still not here. But as always, promise of a dynamic faction system in the game responding to your actions is something that I always find appealing, especially in Pyro, where how a faction feels about you will be the only, quote, law enforcement we are going to have in the system.
You are free to go to prison for life.
As a player, I have always found that the more a game allows me to have an effect on the things I care to do, immerses me further in the experience and allows me to fall in love with the game more. And speaking of effects, Mass Effect builds further on this by allowing the player, through direct intervention with player choice, to have a massive effect on the entire galaxy as a whole. You, at the touch of a button, can cause a genocide multiple times. You can, through sheer hubris and the love of killing children, end the world as we know it.
So be it.
Board Gamer obviously is a massive fan of Mass Effect for this very reason.
If the subjugation or eradication of the Vandal race is the only way to secure peace, then that is the fate they chose for themselves.
Be it directly through the interaction with a crew member, both as a friend or to study biology.
To this, you'll see full digital nudity. Imagine. And the ability for the players to engage in graphic sex, and the person who's playing the game gets to decide exactly what's going to happen between the two people, if you know what I mean.
Or a political event, we see how part of the world forms around us and is cast to our liking. But wait just a minute. This would not work for Star Citizen, to have millions of players strewn about having galaxy-defining choices to make every day. This would of course not be possible on an individual level, but as a group, a collective, through force of tongue or force of might, we can convince and or persuade the player base to sway with whichever choice we find most prudent. And an honorable mention goes specifically to EVE Online in regards to this. I have never played it, but the player empires and the lore, conflicts, and sheer awesomeness that I have heard of in that game is something I very much would love to see in Star Citizen. The developers merely write the background, the overarching stories, and give the players the tools to make the choices themselves and to act accordingly. That is what I want to see. A hands-off, do as you please with what we have given you, but beware the consequences approach. The story of a game is the heart. It is what stays with us after we long ago dropped the game. No matter how bad the gameplay mechanics, shite graphics, or janky experience, a good story can potentially save any game. As long as it's good.
Is that dick good? Yes, kid.
The feel of a game is that sometimes unquantifiable amalgamation of several different factors jumbled into one in a critical, indispensable mass which would suffer greatly if any singular piece went missing. When the game works, though it tries so hard not to, it works. It feels like all the time spent cooking in the kitchen has been worth it, which is something that can be said about most excellent games in reality. If a competent enough team has put together an amazing experience, then we will surely be able to feel and tell that this is indeed the case. But this has always been far harder with Star Citizen. Building vastly different atmospheres across millions and billions of kilometers of space in a singularly cohesive universe is a challenge that I do not envy. But there are hints that they are cooking up solutions and that there is a clear vision. The feeling of playing that game the first time again is something that I always find myself chasing. I think most of us that finished a game the first time find ourselves sitting back and letting the amazing experience we had sink in. The melancholic sadness and sheer joy, knowing that what we just did is something that we, for better or worse, can never repeat again. There are still echoes, however, which is why a lot of us return to our favorite games, and some of these amazing echoes I think is something we may see more of in the future of Star Citizen, which is why I'm such a fervently idiotic supporter of this bloody project. What I'm trying to convey with my words is that I believe, due to the sandbox of Star Citizen, it allows us not to just experience a story written by someone else, but to create our own stories, and to make this feeling ourselves by our choices with our friends, which is something I always wanted when I played Mass Effect, Half-Life, Halo, The Witcher, or any other amazing gaming experience. I wish my friends were here.
I'm in.
He's got a new pilot.
Like you're boarded?
Shoot him! Shoot him!
Get him!
No!
He's dead! No,
Throw him in the brig.
Still have a marker.
He's dead!
He's dead.
Nice
He's dead.
job.
Good job.
Nice
Good
job.
I'm gonna check out if he's... I don't think you put this to self-destruct.
Yeah, you'll find out soon.
Ship? Because there was 2 turrets that were shooting me.
It might have been the PDCs.
Definitely was not the PDCs. It was heavy attrition fire.
Got him.
Like the fleet arrival in Mass Effect, it is no coincidence I used this footage in the Operation Pitchfork video, as it is what I wanted to see. A massive player-driven event such as that would have been amazing to witness. The swell of the music, the feeling of unity as we all arrive together in the pursuit of a common goal. But it's not just about these massive galaxy-affecting stories that matter, but also smaller, inter-character, and more personal missions that matter. You don't have to save the galaxy every time, but allowing us to meet meaningful characters and have an effect, albeit a small one, with our decisions through how we choose to trade, what factions we support, or how we play. This, I would say, is more important than any overarching galaxy-spanning story. Details matter. There have been many times when I've been left in sheer awe of what I've just witnessed while playing Star Citizen. From battles, content, the views, the gameplay, and so much more. Star Citizen is a game that can so easily take your breath away, then just as easily and swiftly bring you back to reality with an invisible asteroid. It is quite the meme at this point, but the fidelity aspect that they always mention about Star Citizen I find to be unparalleled. The clarity of the graphics, the textures, and the beauty of this game surpasses any other currently available game in the, I suppose, space sim genre. Even though Star Citizen is as wide as an ocean and as deep as a puddle, CIG does not have to dig deep to start striking gold once they start.
Well, how about next time you get a board that can handle the Neutron style? Later,
It is not just a question of, look, they're just copying, but this signals to me that they are drawing inspiration from other highly successful series into their own game, which is good because this means to me that they're actively looking for signs of greatness. Because I see a lot of these games within Star Citizen that I've previously mentioned, and I do not think it is blatant plagiarism or copying, but an homage by CIG, and to my mind a respectful nod towards all those other wonderful sci-fi worlds out there. We can see influence from such works as Halo, Star Wars, whatever the fuck this is, Gundam? Is this a Gundam? Anyway, I find this to be a genius move to call on these fantastic franchises to strengthen the Star Citizen experience, as many people from all corners of our dear sci-fi community can potentially come together and find a singular gaming experience that can appeal to a wide variety of styles and preferences. Again, you as the player get to choose whichever cosmetics that you want to utilize. Critically for me, beyond cosmetics, the aesthetics and art style of the game is something that I truly adore, because it harkens back to a personal preference of mine. I have always loved the art style of early Halo games, due to the fact that it has an art style which makes, at least the human armors, appear as a plausible evolution of our current armor technology. Of course, the Spartan armor and the Covenant armor move on to become more science fantasy, but the general art style of the world when it comes to the human design language and the architecture still has a sense of realism that I really love to see. I generally find myself detesting or disliking sci-fi series that sadly stray too far into science fantasy. And even despite Star Wars being science fantasy movies or game series, the art style still appears realistic due to the grit, whereas a show like, Star Trek, for me, everything is a bit too clean and lacks that proper realistic grit for me to find the world truly believable. To save my own life, however, I will say I watched several of the Star Trek movies and I do quite like them. It's just I have a hard time adapting my eyes to the cleanliness. Star Citizen has somewhat managed to have its cake and eat it too, with some clearly more sci-fantasy designs alongside that of the more grittier stuff that directly appeals to yours truly.
I am a surgeon!
Ah yes, the creation of our most beautiful of characters. Across many games, mostly RPGs and MMOs, we get the ability to craft our character according not just to our need, but to our ability. Be they beautiful, be they ugly, we get to decide the ultimate visual fate of our dear monstrosities. Mass Effect, Dragon Age, Oblivion, Cyberpunk, or Minecraft. It is at the tippy top of your fingertips, dear viewer, and I believe in you. Don't make your character pretty, make it ugly. Nobody remembers a supermodel, but everyone remembers herring. Like with the previously mentioned personal preferences, I believe one of the greatest strengths of Star Citizen is, and will continue to be, the character creator. So much self-expression can be expressed with this creator. You can be Asian, black.
What do you mean, you people?
English. Or a pervert. I know you're a man, don't deny it. Anything that you desire, you can make. Mostly. Though I do believe there is trouble on the horizon for the character creator if they do not quickly amend one of the biggest mistakes, namely being a severe lack of a height slider for all the short kings out there and the Dutch.
And where is the weight slider for all that American representation? And where is my damnable muscle slider so I can show my honest-to-God true physique?
My muscles are getting bigger.
It all comes back to choice again. I just can't stop yapping about it. We get to formulate our own experience through our choice of armor, weapons, profession, our ships, and where we inevitably will put our base, and thusly we build our character alongside this. Instead of having a story handcrafted to us by a talented team, we get to make our own stories and experiences through merely interacting with the world around us. But characters are not just the constructioning of your very own monstrosity, but those characters that fill out the world with their glorious presence. Like the story, meeting meaningful characters that flesh out the game is something which is sorely missed within Star Citizen. I'm tired of these bastards yapping at us through a screen. I want interactions where I actually get to talk to these individuals and respond with actual options other than these supposed characters merely serving as glorified mission dossiers.
Where is our Cortana, our Alex? Where is my beloved Garrus to help bring some life into this cold, dark, and lonely universe? Where are the characters that don't just yap at me, but make me care? Make me care, CIG. Make me want to play this game beyond just logging in and filling a bar. Give me my AI crew, no matter how small it is. Having something to play off of could only serve to the game's benefit. And make me able to edit their appearance to make them all truly beautiful. Introducing new and interesting characters of different backgrounds and opinions is something I have waited for. I thought the advent of this may arrive with Pyro, but I'm still left here wanting. You can do this. I believe in you, you goddamn bastards.
Det här är Alfons, han vill knarka och dricka, men hans pappa låter honom inte, då blir han förbannad.
For you see, my dear viewer, in my delusion, I have convinced myself that this game will perchance, at a certain unknowable date in the half-life of plutonium-239, if the stars align, will be a game like no other. Perhaps, perchance, or maybe, Star Citizen will one day toss off the shackles of an alpha and scream out into that great void in a resounding voice of pure, ecstatic joy. It's beta time. And it is with all this said that my story is just one of potentially hundreds, thousands, or perhaps even 2 stories and experiences, which I find incredibly exciting and curious. I did not make this video just in the hopes of merely telling my story, but to allow you, dear viewer, to tell your own story in the comments, which would make you a dear writer indeed. Naturally, most games pull from many angles and varieties of players, and it is with this I'd like to see more avenues of approach in which people found themselves here, in this mess, with me. It doesn't matter which or what game you came from, your preference or lack thereof, there is a place for you here. I love you.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Thank you all so much for watching yet another one of my wonderful masterpieces. Do be so kind as to join the Discord if you feel so inclined. You can also like, comment and subscribe if you like the video and share and all that gay shit. You can support me on Ko-Fi or by becoming a YouTube member if you think I've earned it. More videos to come with different varieties, or different topics, should I say, in the near future, as I'm currently in the process of branching out and spreading my wings. Wonderful. In any case, thank you, and goodbye.
And as always, a super special thank you to all my wonderful Banu merchantmen, and especially my wonderful Apex fishies of Raptor Jesus, Half-Breed Bastard, and Magic. A stupendous thank you to my Sustreaming class of combat creations, Leduc, Big Kronk, Mouseclick, and Davidry. The wonderful, fantastic class people of Schmieda, Yora, Sogi XD, Albatross, and Ignore Me.
And my lovable enthusiasts of Long Yawn, Feral Goblin Gal, Bloodix, Monk, and Dave of Yogs.